Hello my friends, I've been using DJI Action 2 for about 6 months, which means that it is a time for a midterm review. Action 2 is a completely new and largely misunderstood concept of a semi-modular action camera. So far, it has had a bit of an unfortunate fate. In this video, I will try to explain why you might want to ignore some of the initial negative hype and how you can use DJI Action 2 to get some pretty unique creative options. The first thing that needs to be said about the Action 2 is that it is not trying to replace the original Osmo Action and it is not a direct competitor of GoPro Hero 10. There definitely is an overlap in the capabilities of Action 2 and conventional action cameras though. Action 2 basically consists of a large 1/1.7-inch sensor combined with an ultra-wide lens which is housed in a tiny camera body with an OLED screen on the backside. The second part of the device is the display module. That one is connected to the main unit magnetically and secured in place with two latches, so there is absolutely no chance that it would disconnect on its own. That one has the second screen, another battery, USB-C connector and microSD card slot. This form factor and modular design makes it extremely suitable for certain types of mounted use where you can benefit from the form factor and magnetic connection of the Action 2. That includes the wearable use, which is much more convenient than with the GoPro. The limitation of the use without the battery module is the 32GB internal storage, which gives you about 26 minutes of 4K 20p video. You will have to offload the files to the SD card using the battery module when you run out of the space. On the other hand, if you want an all-in-one package with interchangeable battery, ports, larger display and so on, the Action 2 is probably not for you. I will say right away that the GoPro Hero 10 is more suitable for a lot of use cases. Fortunately, Hero 10 is a great alternative for those who are looking for a classic action camera. That is why I'm very glad that the Action 2 is distinctively not a direct GoPro competitor. The build quality is the best of all action cameras on the market. The whole construction is metal and it feels very premium. It might be actually too nice for some kind of action camera use, which is why I definitely recommend using a screen protector. The front element can be protected by an ND filter attached using a magnetic connection system. Another distinctive characteristic of the Action 2 is the field of view. That is very wide at 155 degrees or 12.7mm full frame equivalent. This field of view is again very suitable for POV filming and mounted use where you want to achieve maximal immersion. It is still fine for handheld point and shoot type of use. Here I will also mention an excellent dewarp feature which will give you linear footage with no warping whatsoever. Linear is the default option on the Action 2 and it can do it with a pretty small crop. That is a difference in comparison to other action cameras where the linear mode is more of an afterthought and it comes with a significant crop. The image quality is a major strength of the Action 2. It uses a relatively large 1/1.7-inch sensor and the lens also seems to be very solid considering that it is extremely wide. It captures a lot of real detail and the sharpening is well judged, so I have always been very happy with the image quality of the Action 2. It shoots 4K, which is still perfectly fine in my opinion. It can shoot 4K up to 120p, which means that you don't need to upscale the slow-mo footage, which is great. The image quality in terms of the detail is always the same regardless of the frame rate, which is a welcome change in comparison to the Pocket 2. The dynamic range has been significantly improved by the first major firmware update. It shows a lot more shade of detail after the update, but it still doesn't have a cheap fake HDR look. It got a lot closer to the Pocket 2 in this regard, which is very positive in my opinion. One of my favorite things about the Action 2 are the colors. Those are again very similar to Pocket 2. They are not the most accurate, but I really like this look. This new DJI color science is somewhat similar to the Blackmagic, which is not a bad thing in my opinion. Descent-alike setting is available as well, and that one is properly flat, so it captures a lot of dynamic range and it gives you a lot of room for post-production. I'm also very happy with the low-light performance. It is a level above the GoPro Hero 10. That larger sensor makes a big difference, so the amount of noise is pretty low and it can preserve a lot of detail in the low light. Importantly, it can do that without using a very wide aperture and therefore compromising the minimum focus distance. It can focus as close as 30 cm, so it is perfectly usable for vlogging. Another aspect of the Action 2 that I am very happy with is Rocksteady 2.0 stabilization. It is definitely among the best in this regard. That very wide field of view is pretty easy to stabilize, but at the same time it doesn't have any issues with warping, which is impressive at this focal length. Walking is very smooth, static shots look like on a tripod, so there is not much more to say about that. A standout feature of the stabilization in Action 2 is the low light performance. Dusk situations are completely fine. It only loses efficiency in very low light, so I am very happy with that. Importantly, there is no lag on the screen with the Rocksteady in any setting. That was a big weakness of the original Osmo Action, but not with the Action 2. Action 2 can also take very nice 12 megapixel ultra-wide stills. These actually capture a very respectable amount of detail, which shows that the lens is indeed really good. It can also shoot RAWs with a solid amount of dynamic range. Another unique feature of the Action 2 are OLED displays. The size of the displays is 1.76 inch, but the resolution is 350 pixels per inch, so it is super clear. The contrast is also very good and it just looks great. The downside of the OLED screen is that the visibility in direct sunlight is not the best, but it will be sufficient for composing. If you go for a dual screen combo, you will get the same screen on the battery/display module. That makes it very suitable for situations where you want to operate in front of the camera. Both screens can be turned on at the same time, or you can use just one screen at a time and switch between them. Despite that the Action 2 only has one button, the controls and the user interface are actually great. The second button is basically replaced by the long press and the double press of the multifunctional button. The user interface is in my opinion the best of all square display devices. It uses the usual swipe from the edge gestures, which works well on this type of device. All of the settings are quite easy to access. You should be able to use it very efficiently in a couple of minutes. All of the settings are accessible through the screen, so you don't need to use the smartphone app if you don't want to. The secondary module has another button on the right side, which makes the Action 2 very suitable for vertical video. Another welcome feature is the haptic feedback. The camera will vibrate when you turn it on and off or when you change certain settings, which is reassuring and generally a nice feature. As I mentioned, you have two options for the battery module. The one that I have here is the display module. It is a rather important part of the camera. First of all, it houses a 1300 mAh battery, which recharges the smaller 580 mAh battery in the main module. It also has a USB-C port for charging. A microSD card slot is also located on the module. When you have the module attached, you can use an SD card just like with any other camera. If you only want to use the main module, you will have to use the internal 32GB memory. Then you can move the files from the internal storage to the SD card. The display module also has 3 extra microphones. An alternative is the power module, which is similar but it doesn't have a screen and microphones. I am not a much of vlogger, so I will probably use the power module without the display as the primary option once I get it. I generally like this system. It allows you to only use the main unit if you want to take advantage of that extremely compact form factor. If you want a fully featured device, you can simply attach the power or display module. Regarding the battery life, if you only use the main unit with integrated 580 mAh battery, you will realistically get about 50 minutes of 4K 25p video with Rocksteady and H.264. The display module and the power module include a larger 1300 mAh battery. You can get about 100 minutes of 4K 25p recording with the display module attached. Considering the form factor, I think that both values are very good. I'm also fine with a non-removable battery in this case. It is necessary to achieve this size and weight. Non-removable battery might be a deal breaker for some people, and that is completely fine. Again, they can simply buy a GoPro. Regarding the overheating issues, it is all about the frame rate. I have conducted more tests at 25 degrees Celsius with no moving air, where I still got unlimited 25p H.264. It was definitely warm after 90 minutes, but it wasn't dramatic by any means. If you shoot 4K 60p, it will get pretty hot rather quickly. If you want to shoot long 4K 60p clips, Action 2 is not for you. It is not possible to use high temperature setting on my Action 2 purchased in the European Union. That is a real shame because it is just warm after 7 minutes of 4K 60p. Action 2 uses the DJI Mimo app much like the Pocket 2 or the original Osmo Action. I still think that it is one of the best action camera apps. The user interface is very clean and everything is easy to find. All of the settings available in the camera are also available through the app. You can also wirelessly download the files from the camera to your smartphone and you can also edit them. Importantly, the wireless module is located in the main unit, so you don't have to use any accessories to connect the Action 2 to your smartphone. A very important thing is that you can use the display on the camera and the live video feed in the app at the same time. That is a big advantage over the GoPro. The audio quality with the display module is very similar to the Pocket 2, which means that it is the best among all action and pocket cameras on the market. It has 4 microphones all around the device, and as long as you don't cover any of them, you will get very good audio quality. There is a forward-facing microphone on the main unit, which means that even if you don't use the display mode, it will still be more than good enough for vlogging and you will actually get very decent audio quality. Also worth mentioning is that the Action 2 works with any USB-C microphone or receiver such as this Comica Boom XD for Android smartphones. That means that you have basically unlimited options when it comes to the external audio recording. I think that the Action 2 has a great potential when it comes to extending its capabilities by using accessories. Probably the most basic accessory is the GoPro mount, which is extremely convenient to use and 100% secure. I have ordered a lot of first-party accessories including an extra power module, headband, macro lens and so on, and I will make a separate video about the Action 2 accessories very soon. To sum up, I think that DJI Action 2 is a great addition to the current selection of action cameras on the market. It is a very innovative concept and it offers different advantages and capabilities than other action cameras, which is great for the consumers. The execution of the concept is in my opinion great. The output in terms of the image quality, colors and frame rates is very good. Ultra-wide field of view with perfect dewarping is a good match for this form factor. The stabilization is among the best on the market and the handling is as good as it can be. Also worth mentioning is the OLED display, which looks great. Naturally, this form factor comes with specific limitations. First of all, you will have to use the secondary unit for charging, storage management and so on. There is also that unfortunate time limit at higher frame rates. I still think that all of these compromises are completely acceptable in exchange for that versatility. As I've explained in the beginning, it is not supposed to be a Hero 10 replacement. If you can take advantage of Action 2's form factor and versatility, I can highly recommend it. If not, there are other great action cameras on the market. So that's it for this video, thank you for watching, I hope that you liked this video and that you found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section and see you next time.